It's always a pleasure when we're joined by TSN Montreal's John Lu, and he is here for a Habs update. But hey, John, nice to see you, my man. I watched a portion of the blowout, the Alouettes and Lions, the other night, looking resplendent, by the way. Can we start with the Alouettes? And they just seem so up and down, but in that game, they had total control. How did it look from your viewpoint?
One of their more solid efforts of the season for sure, Rod, especially defensively. That was the best effort that they put in this campaign. And most certainly since Noel Thorpe took over as defensive coordinator. But offensively, first half, they were moving the ball. They had a sense of urgency that put points up on the board. But second half, it was they weren't able to maintain drives. And so, I mean, that's been a little bit of the calling card of the offense this season. It's been inconsistent, and so they have some things to still work out in that regard. But having said that, they took advantage of a team missing Nathan Rourke, and with Antonio Pipkin not being able to move the ball, and Vernon Adams Jr. only having been in the Lions fold for basically a week and having to learn the playbook on the fly, the Alouettes did what they needed to. But having said that, in that mushy Eastern Division, the fact that they're able to still make noise, to still be in the fight, potentially to even seize first place in that division, speaks to the imbalance in the league as a whole. But having said that, yeah, the Alouettes did show some positive signs that they needed, or that they are coming together as a team. But even so, still not where they would need to or expect to be at this point.
Are you on the ownership story trail at all? Are they close to, is that settled? Or because I hear Danny Machocha's got a buddy coming in to buy the team. Do you know anything about that?
No, that's been really, it's been very cryptic, just how things have shaken down with Gary Stern, about what possibilities there are. It seems like that Mario Cecchini, the president of the Alouettes, said that at this point it doesn't appear that Sid Spiegel's estate is interested in selling the franchise, but of course that could change. Obviously, circumstances are fluid, but at this moment in time, there's nothing concrete. Just like, I mean, what you're saying is that it's all in the speculative stage at the moment. But you just hate to see any sort of uncertainty within ownership situations for any of the franchises, but especially Montreal after Mr. Wettenhall died, and the league had to become the steward for the franchise temporarily until they found the Spiegel-Stern tandem. But having said that, until they resolve it, it's nice to see Gary Stern back on Twitter. But,
yeah, that lasted long, didn't it? Was it a week?
Yeah.
Maybe 2 weeks.
Well,
yeah,
with no explanation as to why he sort of took a hiatus, but we're just glad that he's on there because he's very entertaining and engaging.
Seems like a really nice guy, for sure. So, John, you've been covering the Habs for a long time, man. You've seen the ups, the downs. They've been really up and really down and everywhere in between. So Nick Suzuki on Monday gets named the captain of the team. You've been around these guys. Your thoughts on that move?
My belief, Rod, is that Nick Suzuki would have eventually been the captain regardless. I wasn't sure of the timing of it, how it might have shaken down, because candidates like Brendan Gallagher and Joel Edmondson, who are the alternates to help Suzuki, those were names that were very much in the mix as far as possible interim captains to keep the seat warm until Suzuki was ready. But having said that, the Canadiens, the new management group and Marty St. Louis, they've been observing him. They're well aware of what he had accomplished in his 2 seasons prior to the house cleaning that took place starting late last fall. And they've thought very highly of Suzuki, not just of what he does on the ice, but the way that he interacts with his teammates, his demeanor. He's very calm. He leads by example. A lot of those qualities that we see around the sports world of guys that are the leaders of their clubs, whether they're captains or whether they're just acknowledged as the guys that take those dressing rooms by the neck and drag them into the fight. And Suzuki, he's a very soft-spoken, placid type of individual on the exterior, but you can see his competitiveness, is his fire on the ice, in the way that he has the ability to seize the moment, take charge when it's necessary. And Brendan Gallagher, when Suzuki was introduced as the captain, said that as early as the playoff bubble in 2020 in Toronto, Gallagher noticed that Suzuki had the makings of a guy who could eventually be captain, just in the way he elevated his game at important moments. And so Gallagher says that Suzuki's a guy that the entire team follows. That guys respect him, they like him, they believe in what he's accomplished so far and what his potential holds for the future. Because I mean, hey, the guy's only 3 years into his career. He's starting the first year of his 8-year deal with the Canadiens that'll make him the highest paid skater. So there's a lot on his plate, a lot on his shoulders. But Suzuki is the type of guy that's, he believes firmly in his abilities and his potential, and that's, I think it was a really good choice, and he was the natural choice. And the fact that the Canadiens are in a transition mode, where more young players are going to take on more significant roles with the team, he is an ideal guy, an appropriate player to be to wear the C, to take them into this new era.
I love hearing it. Youngest captain in Habs history is saying a lot, and for them to say that he deserves it is fantastic. Now, I saw the Habs play twice here in Sunrise, and I can't wait to see them again. But when I saw them, John, I'm like, I can't believe how young these guys are. I'm like, they look like the best American Hockey League team. What is the outlook? Let's be honest with you. I mean, they're not trying to tank, obviously. They acquired Kirby Dach, and they made this move with Nick Suzuki. But what is the honest outlook? Are they expecting them to make the playoffs in Montreal this year?
Well, they expect to, or at least the players do. I mean, at the golf tournament on Monday, Joel Edmondson said that the rebuild was last year, that they're ready for the next step, and that their mindset, the players' mindset, is that they want to make the playoffs this season. Now, whether that's realistic or not, you look at the roster, you look at it on paper, you look at the competition in their division and the other Eastern Conference competition, and I find that it's hard to believe that they would compete for a wild card position, quite frankly. But having said that, they added Kirby Dach, who has quite a bit to prove in his young career, coming off the injury issues that have plagued him through the early stages of his time in Chicago. A bit of I don't want to say a reclamation project, but certainly much to prove in the case of Sean Monahan as well, coming off of hip surgery. That's a guy he'll start shortly into the regular season, but he had such good years in Calgary. It was a shame to see things end the way they did. But having said that, he's getting a fresh start as well. They are loaded up front. They have a surplus of forwards, and so there's going to be a really interesting. I wouldn't say a battle so much as just attrition that's going to happen in the training camp and the preseason with respect to their forwards. So they have a lot of options. Their defense, not as much. They're a little bit thin on the right side as far as right-handed shooting defensemen are concerned, and they potentially would have a couple of young guys stepping up and seizing jobs to start the season as well. So there's a little bit of transition going on there. And in goal, we've known for over about a month now when Kent Hughes made the Sean Monahan deal. He outright admitted to the media that Carey Price is not going to start the season. There are serious concerns, as we all suspected, that his playing days might be over, that he might have to consider another operation on his knee, that certainly would not provide any guarantees about whether he would be able to resume his career, especially considering how much time will elapse between now the end of last season and when he would get a potential second procedure and then rehabbing it and trying to play again. So in goal, they're going with Jake Allen and Samuel Montembeault. And it's a squad that is in transition in some ways, but also a little bit thin in certain areas. And so the club, it's not a tank. There certainly is incentive to not do very well simply because of who's available in the top 5 in next summer's entry draft. But the fact of the matter is that internally, players still feel that they can make some noise. But management, they would never admit it. But certainly the fact that they're committed to development, and they've said so much. It's Kent Hughes and Marty St. Louis have both said that they're not willing to sacrifice development of the young players in exchange for short-term wins. So if that isn't code for they're okay with losing a lot of games, I don't know what would be.
Yeah, well, I think they are. And it's like the Pats saying they're not going to trade Connor Bedard. I'm like, okay, but you might have to be forced to. John, always a wonderful update. I love seeing you, man. Love the coverage as always. Keep it up and enjoy the fall when the games are getting a lot of fun.
Thank you, Rod. Appreciate it.
TSN Montreal's John Lu. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of the Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.